A big welcome to Steve's Kitchen. Wow, that is hot. We've just finished making delicious Mexican tamales. I've got that wonderful mole we made. I'm going to go through all the steps you need to make really delicious tamales at home. Now, it's no wonder these are super popular around Christmas. I think this is something that the family can get involved with. Let's get on and make Mexican tamales. So before we can make our tamales, we've got to prepare a few things. Of course, I've got my lovely chocolate Oaxacan mole I made in the last video, which is going to be an important flavor in my tamales. Oh, yum. In addition to that, you're going to need some dried corn husks. I have seen it done with banana leaves, that works as well, but they usually come pretty dry. So what we need to do is rehydrate these. I've got a pot full of hot water. I really think you need to soak these overnight, at least 3 or 4 hours anyway, to get them nice and soft. I've got some in here already soaking. What I've done is pop them in, and then I'm going to put a heavy weight or a plate on top of them and keep them under the water until they're beautiful and supple. As I say, overnight ideal. Next up, you're going to want some meat to go with your tamales. Now, I've gone for a traditional slow cooked pork. You could go for chicken. You could use almost any meat, or you could make this vegetarian. The mole is going to add all the extra flavor in there for us. The perfect cut for me is a pork butt or shoulder. It's got lots of fat in it. It's going to render down beautifully. Now, rather than do this in the oven, I'm going to be doing it in a stock pot. I'm going to be boiling it over a period. What that's going to give us is a lovely succulent pork that is just perfect for tamales. It's also going to render the fat off of the pork, which will float to the top, and we'll be using that as a sort of lard. We're using that to make the masa, to make the dough for this. And thirdly, we're going to end up with a perfect stock. So I'm not actually going to put a lot of herbs and spices in this, and there's a reason for that, because at the end I'll have a stock that I can use for other recipes that isn't tainted with the flavors of different herbs and spices. I am going to add in some onions, celery and carrot. So it's a sort of combination of a sort of pork and vegetable stock that we'll end up with. And we're going to simmer this on the stove. So I'm going to pop the whole pork butt in there with the vegetables, simmer it with a little bit of salt for probably 4 to 6 hours until it becomes lovely and tender and it just falls off the bone. Now the pork has been simmering away for a good 6 hours on the stove and it's literally falling apart. What I've got on the top of the stock here is the fats, the lard. I'm going to skim that off now with a ladle, and I'm putting it into a jug because I want to use that to make my masa. It'll get all the flavor and texture that I need. And now we're just going to gently take the pork out. It's absolutely falling apart. It's so soft and tender. And we're just going to pull away the meat from the bone. A little bit of fat in there as well. This is going to make such a good filling for our tamales. The shredded pork is looking and smelling delicious. I've added a lot more of the stock back in there to keep it nice and moist. Now you can see here the fat that's come off of the stock that I scooped off there. That is going to be used to make our masa. I've got my corn husks now, they're hydrated. The mole is ready. I've got some Masa Flour. We're actually using dry Masa Flour. So rather than using water to make our dough, I'm going to use this beautiful stock and fat combination, which is going to make delicious masa. I'm just going to warm this back up. Again, I can't use it solid like that, so I'll heat it. Come back in a second. So I'm going to take a couple of cups of masa harina. Now, it really is important to use masa harina for this and not some sort of wheat flour. What really makes the flavor with tamales is the pork fat. We want to get all of this. Don't just get the stock, get all of that fat in there. It makes all the difference. So with 2 cups of flour, I'm going to start with a cup of stock and the fat off the top of the stock. So by pouring it like that into the cup, you'll get pretty much all the fat in there. Add that in with your masa. We're probably going to need a little bit more, but I won't put it in just yet. Just take a fork now and start to bind this together. As it starts to bind, get your hand in there and just start to squeeze together until you feel whether this feels a little bit dry, which it does at the moment. A little more stock. We're looking for a dough that eventually feels like a very soft Play-Doh. Now the masa is feeling absolutely perfect. This would make great tortillas, by the way, but what I'm going to do is leave this for about 20 minutes to allow the flour to bloom a little bit. Are you following along? Are you ready to construct your tamales? Now, I've got my husks here. If you feel there's one side that's got rough ridges on, one side that's smooth. The smooth side is the side we're using to construct the tamales. I want you to lay them flat out on your countertop or on a board. So we just take a scoop, maybe about a golf ball sized piece of our masa dough, just lay it down on the husk. Now I do find a piece of plastic wrap really helps with this because it stops it sticking to your hands. It also allows you just to sort of spread the masa out. I'm going for a sort of oblong shape if I can, so I'm just pushing out the corners. It's very forgiving if you've got this plastic wrap on here just to sort of pull the shape in. Now some people make this paper thin. I like it a little more chunky because I think the flavour of this masa is so good it doesn't matter. Take the wrap off. Now, whether you decide to mix your pork with your mole or go just with the pork itself, it's entirely up to you, but just get a pinch of your shredded pork, lay it onto your masa, take that beautiful mole, add it on there as well. This is where we're getting the heat and the seasoning for our beautiful tamales. Don't put it on too thick. Probably I've put that on a little bit thicker than I should have done. Now the way I like to do this is fold this seam over to this seam and then roll it up. So if we pull this over now and I just touch down the seams, pat it down a little bit, and then what you can do, you'll get a little mole sneaking out the edge. I'm just going to wrap this round, completely pull it round so we get a beautiful traditional tamale. I'm then just going to fold over the back onto itself, and that one's ready. I got a bit of mole escaping out. I'm not worried about that. Get another piece, just check whether I've got it the right way up, pop it down there. Again, take our masa dough, a little bit on there, cover it over, and then I'm just going to ease it out close to the top, pull it back down again. We can peel that back, take a pinch of our shredded pork, a good Mexican dollop of mole. Maybe I'll go a little bit lighter this time. Pull that over, get my little seam there, and I can see the shape of the tamale starting to form. I'm just going to fold that round. Again, a little bit of mole is escaping. I've got lots of this mole, so I'm not too worried. And there's the next tamale ready to cook. To keep everything together, we're going to take one of our corn husks. I'm just going to pull off a strip like that. I'm just going to lay it underneath the tamale, lift it up, tie a little knot. It's very simple to do, and that'll just hold it together while it's steaming. Now, I'm only doing a dozen of these beautiful tamales. As my channel trailer says, being in the kitchen's getting people involved, but there's just Michelle and I around. I think a dozen will do. 2 for Michelle, 10 for me. That works out just about right. We need to steam these now for about an hour. Now, if you haven't got a proper tamale steamer or a steamer, there's an easy way around that. So put an inch or so of water into the bottom of a pan, pop a ramekin in the center. I'm just going to pop a plate on top of that just to keep it off the heat. And then we're just going to lay our tamales in here. Now, this isn't the traditional way of doing it, but I find it works pretty well. And I'm sort of cross-hatching them just to let a bit of air run through between the tamales as they cook. I'm just going to take a few extra husks, lay them over the top just to sort of trap the heat in. You could use a damp tea towel. Pop the lid on. Pop this on the stove, bring it up to a simmer, and we want these to steam for about an hour, and they should be perfectly cooked. Our tamales have been steaming away for about an hour, and I'm super looking forward to having a taste. I will just say now, we're going to end the Mexican series for the time being anyway. Northern Australia is calling. We've got a big trip coming up, lots of fun to be had there. There's loads of things I haven't yet done. Chili en nogada was one of my favorite dishes I'd hoped to do. It's been really difficult to get hold of the ingredients. Maybe if we go back to Mexico again, we'll be able to do them. I certainly hope we'll pick the series up again a little bit later on. I'm pleased I managed to do the nixtamalized corn and the fresh mole, the tortillas, the churros, don't forget, the elote, the atole, and of course, who could forget the Dory Loco. So it's been a great series. I hope you've enjoyed it. By the way, if you want to support us on the trip up north, you can always become a Patreon on Steve's Kitchen. Every little helps, but that's not so important. Let's get these out now and have a try. I'll just take the husks off of the top, and I'm going to take some of the tamales out. Now, if you haven't had tamales before, you'll see why they're popular at Christmas, like little parcels they are. I'm just gonna unwrap this one, just take it out of its little parcel. Beautiful, fresh, hot tamales. Look at the mole in there, the lovely pork, hot and steamy. And if they're cooked, they should hold together pretty firm. Wow, that is so hot. If you haven't had tamales before, you're missing out on something really great. Here goes. I'm gonna tuck in and give this a try. I hope you've enjoyed the video. Share the love as always. Here goes. Super hot. Probably should have let them cool down just a little bit. Heavenly, almost sweet, chocolatey, savory. The spices hitting the back of my throat from the mole. These are so good. The masa alone just tastes absolutely delicious. If you haven't made tamales before, you've got all the stuff you need now from Steve's Kitchen. All the different ingredients are out there. Give it a go. Let me know you have some fun and some success. Share some photographs across with me on social media, and I will see you. A bit of mole on my thumb. Don't forget a big trip up into Northern Australia coming up, so if you want to see that, subscribe to the channel. Be good, and I will see you for another fun episode very shortly. Take care.